hope. Hope for better, hope for greatness, hope for being just who you are. And know that when you hope in yourself, that's the greatest hope you can give anyone else.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate Bryan, and I'm so excited to be back here for another week with another inspiring episode of our Incarceration and Women series. As you know by now, women are the fastest growing population within jail and prison, and there is so much to unpack there. Every woman has her own story. There are so many different experiences and reasons for that, and so we really have wanted to unpack all of those different things as much as we can in this series. This is a very special episode, but before we get into this week's episode, please subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo, subscribe to our YouTube channel at One Girl Revolution, and check out our website, onegirlrevolution.com, for more podcast episodes, videos, and so much more. And don't forget to check out our Emmy-nominated short documentary, The Girl Inside, on YouTube or on our website. Okay, this week's episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast is a really, really special one. It's one that I am so excited for, and I can't wait to share it with you. This week's episode features Miss Lily, Queen Motivational, from the Emmy-nominated film, The Girl Inside. Yes, you heard me right. Miss Lily is out of Cook County Jail, and she is here to share her own story, her own experiences, and I'm freaking out that I got to spend this time with her. Miss Lily and the other women who are featured in The Girl Inside really touched my life and touched my heart, changed my life really that day. And I know that they've touched your lives through The Girl Inside, and everybody wanted to know more. You know, we want to know more about these women and their experiences and their stories. So I'm excited that Miss Lily is here. I had hoped for a long time that one of the women or all of them would reach out to me at some point, but it was really in their hands. For privacy reasons, Cook County Jail couldn't give me their personal information. I knew their first names, but that was pretty much it. So when I got a Facebook message from Miss Lily recently saying that she was out, I nearly fell out of my chair. I called her immediately, and we've been talking ever since, and I asked her if she would be open to coming on the podcast to share her wisdom and her story. She answered with a resounding yes, and I'm so excited to share this inspiring episode with you. Miss Lily, Queen Motivational, joins the One Girl Revolution podcast to share more about her own life and story. She talks about her experience with incarceration, her time at Cook County Jail. She tells the story about when she found out that Dr. Biaggi would be returning and how she became a part of The Girl Inside. She shares her experience from that day that we filmed The Girl Inside. We share some behind the scenes stories. Ms. Lily talks about what she's doing now that she's out, and she shares her wisdom and her joy and so much more. So without further ado, here's Ms. Lily, Queen Motivational, from the Emmy-nominated film, The Girl Inside. Miss Lily, Queen Motivational, thank you so much for joining the One Girl Revolution podcast.
You're welcome. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here.
I am just absolutely still blown away that you and I are connected. The night that I got your message on Facebook, I near fell out of my chair, Miss Lily, because I had been hoping and praying and dreaming of this day just to be reunited with you and the other ladies. I can't tell you enough how much the day inside with you ladies at Cook County and The Girl Inside changed my life. And so I just hoped that one day I would hear from you. And I'm just so grateful that you reached out, and I'm excited. I know that our listeners are going to be so excited to hear from you. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure because, you know, doing things to keep you busy inside of a place that's supposed to tear you down and make you feel like less than human is what kept me going in there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and you got out and you reached out to me at the most perfect time, because you didn't even know that The Girl Inside has been nominated for an Emmy Award. And so you're an Emmy nominated, I guess we could say actress. You're an Emmy nominated, but it was your authentic self. So you're not really an actress, but you are Emmy nominated. And I'm so excited that we all get to watch on December 5th. Hopefully The Girl Inside wins the Emmy, but no matter what, I think it's just been such a gift to have that 10-minute documentary to open people's eyes, as you and I have talked about, just opening people's eyes to those who often are forgotten about. And I know that that's what you and so many others experience. And so, gosh, I'm just so excited. But I want to know from you, because I actually don't know this story, Miss Lily, of how, so I reached out to Cook County Jail with Dr. Biaggi and said, hey, we'd love to come in and interview some of Dr. Biaggi's former students. She wants to do, we want to do like a 1-day course with some of her former students. And I know like all the hoops that I had to jump through to be able to bring a film crew in and all the different things, but I actually don't know from your side of things, when did Cook County first reach out to you?
They first reached out to us like a couple of days before you all even came to film. And it was just like, okay, you have a follow-up class with Dr. Biaggi. But they didn't tell us she was here because we had thought the program had been canceled because no one else took the class after we took the Inside Out program. But when I seen her, when I walked into that room and I seen her, it was like, oh my God, we had literally just had a discussion about her that morning. And here she is in the flesh. And it just took me to another space. I was so overwhelmed to see her because she had this aura about her that she wanted to bring out the best in you, no matter what the situation you were facing. She wanted to bring that out of you so that you can continue to live life with no qualms. So when I seen her and I walked in that door, oh my God, I just picked her up off her feet. I wanted to swing her around a couple of times, but I just picked her up and squares her because she's one of those women that helped me to see my best self and helped me to unleash some things that I had hidden for so long. So yeah, it was just a couple of days before, and when we found out we were ready, we was up and ready. We got up that morning, did our little hair and everything. We knew we was going to be somewhere with Dr. B, but we just didn't know it was going to be filmed. So to know that, it was filmed, and to know that, people can watch what that little particular 10-minute does to a person's life, it's like amazing.
And even for all of you to have that too, to remember like a positive thing that happened, taking that class, and that people will see in the documentary, in The Girl Inside, if they haven't seen it already, they see that authentic moment. I remember standing in the room and we didn't know, Miss Lily, like who exactly was going to come. Dr. B didn't know which of her former students. We just knew that there were most likely going to be 5 of you. We didn't know if you were all going to be like totally tight-lipped and just sitting there like, not wanting to talk or like not wanting to share. We didn't know what we were going to get. And I just remember that moment when the 5 of you walked through the door and saw Dr. B and just picked her up and started screaming. And we were like, all right, let's go. Like, this is going to be amazing. And, we didn't know, same as you, we didn't know exactly how the day was going to go or what would become of this documentary, but just, it was so important. And One Girl Revolution, this from our time together, One Girl Revolution is all about elevating or just creating the space for women to elevate their own stories and elevate their own voices, and just to have a platform to stand on. And so I'm just forever grateful to you and the other ladies for sharing your hearts and sharing your stories on that day. But I'd love to hear from you. What was that day like? If you could describe it to people, because I know that I've talked to different friends or shared different stories about what it was like sitting in that circle with you ladies and sitting in that room, standing in that room, the power just was like resonating. And I know that everyone in Cook County felt that too, because they ended up letting us stay longer than we were originally supposed to, because it was just so powerful and positive and beautiful what was coming out of it. And so they just let us keep staying longer and longer and longer. But what was that day like for you? Can you share a little bit?
That day for me was like the building up of the new me. The new Lily, the new Queen Motivational, the new Lathea Juliet Crafton Henderson. It was all that in the above, because at that particular moment when I walked in that door and I seen Dr. Biaggi, I knew that then that her strength was going to bring out the best in all 5 of us. I knew that she was going to get us to go deeper into ourselves and what we need to work on and what we need to see in ourselves so that everybody else can see it in us. So that day for me was a blessing. Not only was it a blessing, it was an opportunity to show people that even in a dark situation that I was facing, that I wasn't giving up, that my hope was still there, no matter what the correctional officer said, no matter what they did, no matter how they acted. None of that made a difference to me because I was holding on to my hope. I was holding on to the hope that Dr. Biaggi told us once before that, you know, the only person that can tell your story is you. You know, can't nobody tell your story better than you. And because she instilled that in us, I knew that I had to share my story, my real truth, my real self, my naked self with the world, because somebody out there can see me as a sense of hope and a sense of strength to carry on and not give up and just throw in the towel and take anything, but to fight for what's theirs and to fight for their life. So I believe that day gave me the courage to say enough is enough. It's time for you all to see that even when we're in this type of situation, in this place, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, number one. Two, that there's always a way to get out. It's always a way to see a better day coming, you know? So I had to hold on to that, and I had to give it to the girls as well, because I know sometimes when we're thinking about what we're going through in county, we tend to give up hope. We tend to be lifeless and everything. And I speak life in them. I speak life over myself. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been asked back to speak to the ladies once, you know, they give me the time limit and to share my story, because I want them to look at me as a success and not a failure.
It empowers other people too. I think, you know, when we're willing to share our story, even the difficult parts or the dark parts of our story, it empowers other people to see their passion and see their gifts and talents and their value. I think so many things in the world too, we all have difficult things we have to go through. And I had a guest on the podcast, Sister Helen Prejean, who works with those who are on death row. And she said something really profound to me recently, Miss Lily. She said, you know, no one should be defined by the worst thing that they did. And all of us, like, I just remember sitting in that room with you ladies and just being like, you know, we're all the same. Like, we all have stuff in our lives, that we all have struggles. We all have things maybe that we've had to deal with. And so there's just something, we need to focus on our commonality. There's something really powerful about that, focusing on our commonality. And so you sharing your story with other women, even now you getting to go back and share your story, I think is going to really empower and inspire other people. And one of the questions that Dr. B had shared or asked, one of the first questions she asked on that day, which has really stuck with me, it was really profound. It's very simple, but it was really profound. And she asked all of us, what was your first memory of play? And I love this question because it breaks down every single barrier. It breaks down, you know, the way that we were raised. It breaks down zip codes or differences or difference of color, you know, skin color, all the different things, religion. It breaks down all the barriers, because at the end of the day, we're all the same. And we were all little kids. We all have, you know, had the same imaginary adventures. We all played in the same dirt and made the same mud pies. I remember one of the ladies sharing that, and, you know, we all were once kids, and it reminded me so much of things that are going on in the world today, like how different the world would look if we focused on our commonality. And you, Ms. Lily, shared during that time, you shared so many beautiful things about how you were a born performer and would always be singing and all these amazing memories that you had. I'd love to rewind a little bit for people that are listening. I know that they want to know just about you and who you are as a person. Can you share a little bit just about your early life and just a little bit about who you are?
Well, I'm just me, plain on me. But I grew up in Robert Taylor Projects with 5 other siblings. My mom, who was a single parent mom for the majority of my life that I know about. I've never had a real good childhood, but it wasn't bad. It was a rough one because of the things that were going on around and the situations that arose in life. But I was always a bookworm. I always wanted to go to school. I always wanted to be in somebody's class. I always wanted to sing. But I started to venture out on other things, which was doing hair, cooking, and stuff like that. So those became my passion. I'm a mother of 2 beautiful kids. One is 28, her name is Marcella, and one is 27. His name is Marshall. I have a granddaughter that's 11, that's smarter than a whip, and that's Demaya, and that's who my life surrounds around. That was one of the reasons I held on in that place, because of my children and my grandbaby and my family that loves me so dearly. I have friends that love me, too, but it's nothing like that motherly or that family love. So I was raised there. I went to DuSable High School. I went to Beethoven Elementary School, and I graduated, and I went to college and pursued a career in psychology. I did so many things. Like I'm the type that if I go after something, I have to do it. I have to complete it. So that's one of the reasons why in there was so. I was so to myself, because all of the programs that were offered, I got into them. I didn't let one slip past me. So that was just me. I'm just so enthused about learning. I'm so enthused about educating myself. I'm so enthused about being a mother and a grandmother. And I now know that being a mother is not always easy, but if you put your best foot forward, you can make things happen. You can make your children see things that they may not see. So right now I'm just sitting here on the podcast with you, enjoying it. I can't stop laughing because it's just like a moment of reality that things happen that are good.
If you're enjoying this episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, you can see more about the lives, struggles, hopes, and dreams of incarcerated women in One Girl Revolution's The Girl Inside on YouTube. The Girl Inside is a short documentary. It's only 10 minutes, so not a huge commitment, that features the stories and voices of 5 incarcerated women at Cook County Jail and an academic storytelling class that changed their lives. The link is in the show notes. Please watch and share The Girl Inside today. And now back to the show. So I was going to ask you, Miss Lily, because one thing, you just touched my heart so much on that day. And I obviously think about you every time I watch the documentary, which I've watched it so many times, but you just ooze like this hope, like this shaken hope constantly. And it's so inspiring to me. Where do you find hope? Like, where do you find hope in your day-to-day life? Where did you find hope when you were inside? I know that there probably were a lot of dark days and it would have been easy to feel hopeless. Where do you find your hope?
I find hope when I feel like I'm hopeless, Miss Katie. I go and I get on the phone, and the two people that I call is my mom and my brother. And the reason why I call those two people is because my mom has this wisdom that is unbound, and when I feel like I'm low, she just picks me up. My brother is another one who also has been incarcerated in the federal penitentiary, who has knowledge of being inside and how things go and how things operate. And he gives me great wisdom on how to do that. So when I'm losing my hope, I pray first of all, because I know nobody can do anything without him. But when I need to be encouraged or when I need to hear that wisdom, I call my mom and my brother, and they just give me hope. And then on top of that, I have my 11-year-old granddaughter who's just the center of my life sometimes when I need to be, centered and into myself. So I'll call her and she'll just tell me something that happened in her daily day. And they just say, okay, in my mind, I go, that's your hope right there. That's the reason why you got to continue to fight. That's the reason why you got to continue to let these ladies know that there's hope on the other side of the fence. That's the reason why God gave you this wisdom to share. You have to continue to let these women know how to fight. And if they don't know how to fight, you show them how you fought. So that's something that gave me hope. And when I see the women, when I walk down the hall and they say, "Oh, Miss Lily, I love you. You are my best friend," or "You are my sister," or you are just so encourageable," I take that and I continue to encourage them. I continue to, give them hope, and I continue to give them a sense of peace so that they'll understand that this is just a fight and we're on the battlefield. But in the end, the fight belongs to God and not to us.
Yeah, I was so inspired even by that day, how you each were so encouraging of one another and like shared about how even in your darkest days, like sometimes it would just take another person just smiling or singing a song. I know you were singing different songs and encouraging each other. And then one thing that a lot of people don't know is a lot of jails or prisons, they don't have a lot of classes actually. And Cook County is one of the leading places that has so many different resources and classes. And so I know you shared a little bit about, all the different classes that you took, but Dr. Biaggi's class just seems to me, and now knowing her and knowing her so well through this whole project, her class is just so innovative. And I know that it just inspired all of you to really dig down deep and find who you are. And Dr. Biaggi said this really powerful line that day when we were inside, and it's at the end of the documentary. We typed it out to put it in there just to make sure that people saw it and it really sunk in. And she said, there are so many problems in society, in the world, because people aren't able to be heard. And that was so it kind of hits you in the gut because it's so true. And I know that was your experience. Can you share a little bit about just Dr. Biaggi's class and maybe even when you ended up inside and then taking her class and what that class did for you?
Well, taking Dr. Biaggi's class was something that, first of all, became just so I can get off the tier and I don't have to deal with the day-to-day raha that goes on the tier.
Yeah.
But once I entered that class, once I seen her and those 13 students, Kate, and those 13 students embraced us as if we weren't a disease or if we were not some type of dirt or dust that you wanted to flick off. I began to see and realize that all people are not alike. All people don't think alike. So in Dr. Biaggi's class, every morning, every time we met, we gave each other hugs. We did exercises. We did, the hot exercise, and we embraced each other. And that's what made me kind of open up the door to myself and let them know some of the things that I've encountered in my life. And it was so mind-boggling that I wanted to shut down at times because I didn't want to have to deal with the past. I didn't want to have to deal with what happened to me. But one day, Dr. Biaggi said, Miss Lily, you are so inspirational to others that you have to become inspired by yourself. So when she told me that, and I was paired up with, I think, one of the young ladies, I think her name was Julie. And when me and Julie paired up, we had a question of whether we were going to do a poem or we're going to write a song or however our masterpiece was going to come together. So working with Julie, she asked me to sing. And I sung for her. And I didn't know that everyone else was listening because we were paired off in a group. And, we was far distance from each other. And I was singing low enough because I didn't want to disturb the other groups. But as I was singing, when I sing, Miss Kate, I go into myself. But as I was singing, I heard the room get so quiet. And when I got through singing, I turned around and I had every eye in that room was shedding tears. And at the end of that day, all the students like, you have the most amazing voice, Miss Lily. Like, that's how you empower people. And I took that. And that next class, nobody had to say anything, not even Dr. Biaggi. I just came out of my shell and I began to share willingly. Dr. Biaggi brings that out of you because she so willfully shares the things that, she's been through and the struggles that she has. And she never, ever pushed us apart. She never said, I'm up here and you're down there. It's always we're equal. So that moment, that class, those 13 weeks that we took with Dr. Biaggi and the 13 students from Inside Out was so amazing to me. And at the end of the 13th week, we got to perform our little piece and skit that we wrote during the 13-week class to the Dean of Students of DePaul University and a couple of more people, Miss Joanne, Mr. C, Miss Megan, Miss Lopez, Chief James, Director Gents was there. And it was so amazing to see the look of the dean, of his face. His face was just, I'm talking about, it was so amazing that you thought this man had a plastic smile on his face. We had these people crying, sharing our stories. And it was like, somebody is listening. somebody is actually listening right now, because we've been swept under the rug since day one, and it's hard fighting what you're fighting, and then have to fight the COs and have to fight the people that are supposed to help you get better or do better. And when I seen the dean tell Dr. Biaggi that this was one of the most amazing class he's had ever sat in on, that right there in itself told me that something great was going to happen. And I didn't know what. I wasn't prepared for it, but this is something of that greatness that happened because of the fact that someone was listening. And that's all we ever asked, was for someone to listen.
There's so many stories like this, Miss Lily, that just so many people that are unheard, so many people that are marginalized and forgotten about. And I'm just so grateful that you shared your story, but even the power of music, you shared about singing and the power that can have just to challenge people to stop and think about stories. I love storytelling and music, or poetry, or just learning how to tell your own story. How can we move beyond something that has happened to us or something that we've done if we don't know how to talk about it? And that's something that I've kind of always thought about in my life. There are things that all of us have gone through as children, or, even as teenagers, or even as adults, that, how can you move beyond something? And so that was really the power of this class. And again, I can't say it enough to you how much you and the other ladies changed my life. And I'm so excited that it got encapsulated in The Girl Inside. And of course, it's only 10 minutes of what you experienced, and it's 10 minutes of what we experienced on that day together. But I hope that it opens people's eyes, and I know it already has. And so thank you so much for just sharing your heart and being so open and vulnerable and authentic, because I know that will just resonate for generations and generations to come. Miss Lily, I want to ask you, because you're called Queen Motivational. I've known that since the moment I met you. Where did you get that nickname?
Well, I used to work at this daycare center on 7 North Holman called Garfield Daycare Center. And one of the girls that I grew close to, her name was Miss Shirley Harris. And I know she don't mind me telling this story because she reminds me about it all the time. I was sitting in the kitchen because I was the food aide prepping the food for the kids and whatnot. And she walked in, and I'm very, very good at reading people's faces, so I can know if you're hurt, if you're pain, if you happy, or you just have something on your mind. And this particular day, Miss Harris walked into the kitchen, and she normally doesn't stay and talk to me, but this day she stayed and talked to me. And I just gave her what I had in me. I gave her the encouragement. I gave her, the wisdom. And the last thing I told her was, no matter what you're going through, you can get through it if you just find hope within hope. And she said, what do you mean by that? I say, listen, sometimes life seems hopeless. The world seems hopeless. The things that we accomplish seem hopeless, because this world is made up of, and designed to make us think that we are failures. I say, but if you hope for something, if you put your mind to something and say that you want this, you can have it. All you have to do is put one step forward, put each foot in front of the other, and guarantee you will get there. I say, so don't lose hope. Don't lose sight of who you are. Don't lose sight of your direction that the man upstairs has gotten you to go into. I say, so just continue to pray about your situation, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, and I don't need to know, but pray about your situation and continue to trust in him, and he will bring you through. And she was like, you know what? I'm not calling you Miss Henderson no more. I'm not even going to call you Miss Lily. Your name for me is Queen Motivational. So I took that name and I adapted to it, and that's what I've been ever since then.
I love it so much. And I can't wait to see. I feel like there's something in the works for Queen Motivational. I feel like you're such an inspiration to me and so many others. And I can't wait to see where that brand, if we want to call it a brand, goes, because I feel like we need more of that positivity in the world and more of that just authentic. Like, that's the thing, is you're not just being, overly positive to be positive. You're being authentically yourself and giving people hope. If you would like to hear more stories straight from women who have been incarcerated, check out One Girl Revolution's The Girl Inside on YouTube. One Girl Revolution took a film crew behind the walls of the largest single-site jail, Cook County Jail, and interviewed 5 incarcerated women. This short documentary highlights a life-changing academic class and the life and experiences of these 5 women, and what is revealed is the girl inside. You can watch The Girl Inside today on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. And now back to this episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Miss Lily, I want to ask you, if somebody who's listening, say they are currently incarcerated, or maybe they're formerly incarcerated, or maybe just someone who's struggling or going through something right now, I want to ask Queen Motivational, what advice would you give to someone who's either currently incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, or just struggling right now with something?
I would tell them simply to hold on. Don't give up and don't give in, because when you throw in the towel, you're telling people that you're not a fighter, and you are a fighter. You will always be a fighter. All you have to do is know your strength and know your strength and how you want to fight. You don't have to fight with your hands. You can fight with the power of your words, the power of a pen, the power of paper, and the power of just getting your message across. So don't give up and don't give in. And if you think that you have to give in, you don't, because there's a song by Mary that says, I just can't give up now. If you have anybody in your life that means anything to you, you take them and you make that your motivation to continue to hold on and keep up the good work and keep up the good fight, and don't give in. Just hold on a little while longer, because the change really is going to come.
I think you're so inspiring. And I love the image that you talk about, like put pen to paper, because that was one thing that I had fought so hard for when we came into Cook County to spend the day with you. I really wanted you and each of the other ladies to have something that you could keep with you, something, because we didn't know exactly what this was going to become. Would it become a documentary? Would it become just some little clips or something? But I really fought hard to get paper and pens in, because I wanted you to be able to write. And then that became such a powerful point in the documentary where you're writing. And so sometimes we can just do a little something, some little thing where we sit down and just put pen to paper and write our hopes and dreams and, or our struggles, and I love the image too of, I have different friends that will like write their prayer on a piece of paper and then burn it, just so it's like, all right, I wrote what I needed to write and there we go. And we'll see where this goes. But you're just such, I can't wait to spend time with you in person, because I feel like that has to happen. But Miss Lily, I have 2 more questions. One is, I want to know, who is a One Girl Revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that's inspired you?
Well, the one girl in my life who's my One Girl Revolution is Miss Dorothy Jean Beatty, which is my mom. She's had a hard life growing up. I never knew her real story until she shared it with me. So she's my One Girl Revolution that keeps me fighting. She keeps me going. She keeps me sane. She keeps me encouraged. She just keeps me in a place that never allowing me to give up hope, never allowing me to drown in sorrow, never allowing me to just crawl up under a rock and die. She's always giving me the encouragement to fight, but to fight the right way. So that's my One Girl Revolution that inspires me, my mom.
Well, you are living out her legacy. Her legacy lives through you. So I'm just so inspired by everything that you are and everything that you're doing, Miss Lily. Before I let you go, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
My one message would be hope. Hope for better, hope for greatness, hope for being just who you are. And know that when you hope in yourself, that's the greatest hope you can give anyone else.
Miss Lily, I am, again, so grateful to be connected with you again. I can't wait to stay in touch with you and see where you go from here. I know there are amazing things on the horizon, and hopefully an Emmy Award is one of them. But I'm so grateful for you being on the podcast. Thank you. And being in the documentary. Thank you so much for your story, for your life, for your voice.
I am grateful to have someone like you being placed in my life, and and sharing my story the way that you did. You put an elegant twist to everything that you did. That 10-minute segment was off the chain, and sometimes, you know, that's all we need is to remember that somebody is listening and somebody is, you know, heard us. And for you, Miss Katie, you were our shining star to a dark place, because you came in and you listened, and you didn't judge us. You didn't ask about what we were there for. You didn't do any of that. You just embraced us, and you loved on us in those little hours that we were there. And you made us feel a sense of hope that you know, one day somebody else will be listening, and it will be somebody big that will show the world what we deal with on a daily basis inside that place. But I thank you so much for everything that you've done and everything that you are about to do, because you have some amazing things on the horizon that's going to showcase just what type of woman and what type of talents that you are endued with. And you're going to make some amazing things. And I'm grateful. I can't say it enough. I'm just grateful that you came in and did this for all of us.
Ms. Lily, I am so grateful for you. And I, again, can't wait to stay in touch with you. And I'm so grateful for you and the other ladies there too, because this never would have happened if it wasn't for you, for your yes, you know, for your yes to be, your willingness to share your voice and your story. So thank you so much for trusting us. I know you trust Dr. B because she's amazing, but for trusting me, a stranger. And I will always remember that day. And I look forward to hopefully many, many more days like that. And I look forward to staying in touch with you and seeing where your life leads, because I know that there are amazing things on the horizon. So thank you so much again for reaching out, and thank you for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast.
You are absolutely welcome, and I thank you as well.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number one girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number one girlrevolution.com.